The cave in the storm. The rain hit hard like needles falling from the sky. Daniel pulled his worn-out jacket tighter as he moved across the rocky ground. His boots slipped on the wet surface, but he kept walking. The storm was the worst he had seen since landing on this strange planet. Lightning flashed above and thunder roared like a monster. He was alone. His small exploration shuttle had been damaged during landing, and now he was looking for shelter until morning. The wind howled louder, and then he heard it. A cry. Not thunder. Not wind. A soft, trembling cry. Daniel froze. It came from the cliffs ahead. He walked carefully toward the sound, stepping over fallen stones. The crying was weak, almost like a child. Another flash of lightning revealed a narrow crack between two large rocks, a cave. Daniel hesitated. He didn't expect any life forms here. The planet was marked abandoned in old galactic charts. But that cry, it was real. Someone was inside. He stepped into the cave slowly. Inside, the air was dry, but heavy with fear. The sound of crying grew clearer. Daniel turned on his flashlight. The beam lit up the dark stone walls, and then he saw her. A female alien sat against the cave wall, wrapped in torn fabric. Her skin was a pale shade of silver blue, glowing faintly. Her long black hair was messy, and her eyes, large, violet, and filled with tears, met his. She wasn't alone. Two small children huddled beside her. Both looked thin and weak. The younger one was coughing. Daniel raised his hands to show he meant no harm. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said calmly. "I just need shelter." The alien mother reached for something beside her, a small weapon. She pointed it at him with shaking hands. Her voice was soft but firm. "Leave, or I will protect them." Daniel didn't move. "I believe you. But look at me. Do I look like a soldier? I'm just a man trying to survive." She looked at his soaked clothes, the cuts on his face, and the tired look in his eyes. The weapon lowered, but she didn't put it away. "Why are you here?" she asked. "Ship crash. I'm not military. Just a mechanic." He looked at the children. They don't look well." The alien mother pressed them close to her. "They are mine. I am all they have." She sounded broken. Daniel slowly sat near the cave entrance. "I'll stay here, far from you. I won't hurt you or your kids." The woman looked at him for a long time. Her hands trembled. Then she whispered, "Please, don't leave." Daniel looked up, surprised. "What?" Tears fell from her glowing eyes. "My children are cold. We have no more fire, no food. I'm not strong enough to protect them anymore." She looked down at her kids. "They have no father. We were left behind." Daniel's heart clenched. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Velora," she said. He nodded. "I'm Daniel." He opened his bag and pulled out an emergency heat patch. Carefully, he rolled it toward her. "Use this. It'll help them stay warm for a while." She didn't trust him at first, but after a pause, she took it and pressed it to the children's small bodies. Their shivering slowed. Daniel leaned back against the rock wall. The storm still raged outside. Velora looked at him again. Her voice was almost too soft to hear. "Will you help us?" He blinked. "How?" She looked directly into his eyes. "Stay. Be their protector. Be their father." Daniel's heart skipped a beat. "What?" "In my world, when a man saves a mother and her children, he becomes part of them. You found us, you didn't turn away, that means something." Daniel stared at her. He had come here looking for parts, maybe some minerals. Not this, not a family. But the look in her eyes, pure desperation, was something he couldn't ignore. I don't know what I can do," he said honestly. "I'm just trying to survive," she whispered. "Then survive with us." A silence fell between them, only broken by the children's soft breathing. Outside, the storm began to fade. Inside, a new story had just begun. Daniel didn't move from his place by the wall, but inside his chest something moved. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but he knew one thing. He couldn't leave them behind. Her story of abandonment. The cave was quiet now. Daniel sat near the entrance watching the soft rise and fall of the sleeping children's tiny chests. The emergency heat patch had helped. Their color looked better. Their breathing, steadier. Valora sat a few feet away, silent, arms wrapped around her knees. Her long hair fell like a curtain, hiding her face, but Daniel could feel it. Pain, not the kind from wounds. The kind that lived deep inside the heart. She finally broke the silence. "You want to know who I am, don't you?" Daniel looked over. "I think you want to tell me." She gave a small, sad smile. "I was not always like this. Dirty, hiding, in a cave." She looked at her children and gently brushed one of their cheeks. "Once I was honored. I walked under stars, wore silver robes, gave orders to warriors." Daniel raised his eyebrows. "So royalty?" "Something like that," she replied. "My people followed strength. I was the mate of a war leader. When he spoke, others listened. When I stood beside him, I was safe." Her voice dropped. Then, the war came. Daniel leaned forward slightly. "We were told humans had landed near the outer systems. My people prepared to strike, afraid, proud, too sure of themselves." Valora touched a scar near her collarbone. "He died in the first wave. A human ship destroyed his vessel. The council saw no value in a widowed female and unborn children." Daniel's heart sank. "They left you?" She nodded. "Worse, they ordered me to stay behind. Bait. To draw enemy attention away from their retreat." Daniel's fists tightened. "They never expected me to survive, but I did. I crawled from the ruins, hid in the caves, gave birth alone, fed my children with roots and insects, waited every day, hoping someone would come." She looked at Daniel now. Her eyes were sharp, but tired. "You are the first face I've seen in over 1 galactic year." Daniel swallowed. "And no one came back for you? Not even your clan?" "They believe I am dead. They want me to be dead. My children are marked. My mate was high blood. They fear the future claims my children might make." "Claims?" Daniel asked. Valora lifted one of the child's arms gently. A strange birthmark shimmered on the skin. A symbol, faint and glowing. "In my people's law, this child could challenge for a seat of power. The council would rather see them dead." Daniel sat back, stunned. "This is why we hide," she said. "This is why I carry a weapon even when I have no energy left to shoot it." There was a long pause. "I'm sorry," Daniel finally said. Valora tilted her head. "For what?" "For what you've been through. For the way your own kind treated you. For the way this galaxy breaks the wrong people." Valora looked at him closely now. "You speak like one who has also been broken." Daniel gave a dry chuckle. "Maybe. Earth? Never cared much for mechanics. I fixed ships, patched up broken bots, got yelled at by pilots. No one ever looked at me the way you look at your children." He paused. "But at least I was never hunted for being born." Valora slowly stood, her legs shaking. She moved to sit beside him, still keeping a careful space between them. "I do not trust easily," she said. Daniel nodded. "Neither do I." "But you came into this cave with nothing," she continued, "and still gave warmth to children not your own." Daniel shrugged. "Seemed like the right thing to do." She turned her head slightly. "In my people's belief, such a man is rare. Some say he does not exist, but if one is found, he is to be kept, protected, asked to stay." He looked at her. "Are you asking me to stay?" "I am asking if you have anything left to return to," she said honestly. "Because we do not. We have no home, no food, no family. Only this cave. And now, you." Daniel didn't answer at first. But his silence wasn't because he was unsure, it was because his heart was already halfway bonded. He looked at the small bundle of sleeping life. 2 children, left to die by an empire too proud to care, and a mother, beaten but not broken. He gave a small smile. Then maybe we both have nothing, which means maybe we can build something together. Valora didn't smile, but her eyes shimmered. Hope, just a flicker. But it was enough. Human versus alien values. The rain had stopped. Outside the cave, the world was silent, wet stone, dripping leaves, and broken sky. But inside, a new kind of life had started. Daniel had stayed. Each day he helped gather food, built a small fire pit, using ship scraps, set traps, filtered rainwater. He even fixed a broken light orb Valora had hidden under old blankets. It was strange. Peaceful, but something still stood between them. They didn't understand each other. Not completely. One morning, Daniel brought in a small creature he had caught in a snare, rabbit-like, but with crystal eyes. Enough meat for the day. He laid it on a stone and smiled proudly, but Valora frowned. You killed it without ceremony. Daniel blinked. Ceremony? She stood, her voice soft but firm. In my people's way, we ask the spirit of the animal to forgive us. Life must not be taken without respect. Daniel looked confused. It's food. To you, she said, wrapping the children in a warm cloth. To me it was once a being. Daniel sighed. I didn't mean to disrespect it. I know, she replied. But we think different. You are human, he nodded, and you're alien. She raised a brow. No, I am mother. He paused. That was something more. Later that day, Daniel gave one of the children, Leary, a small device from his pack. It was a music player. He clicked a button and soft human music started playing. The child's eyes lit up. But Valora rushed forward. What is that sound? Music, Daniel said, surprised. Earth lullabies. They calm children. Valora reached out slowly, touching the device. It felt strange, like it enters the skin. It's safe, he promised. She watched her child sway to the beat and smiled faintly. Strange, but gentle. That night, around the fire, Valora finally asked him, why do you do this? Do what? Give things, help us, ask for nothing. Daniel looked at her, puzzled. Because it's the right thing to do. She shook her head slowly. In my world, kindness is paid with service or loyalty. No male gives without wanting. Bond or power. Daniel chuckled. Then your world never met a broke mechanic with a soft heart. She tilted her head, unsure if it was a joke or something deeper. The next morning, things changed. A soft hum echoed outside the cave. Daniel rushed to the entrance and saw it, a small scout drone floating near the canyon wall. It blinked red. Danger. He ducked back inside. We've got trouble. Valora's face turned pale. Is it them? Could be bounty hunters. Could be your clan. Could be scavengers looking for tech. She held her children close. They found us. Daniel reached into his bag and pulled out a scrambler device. I can jam the signal, but only for a short time. After that, they'll know something's here. Valora stared at him. You would fight for us? Daniel looked into her eyes. Yeah, he said. I would. As the children slept, Valora sat beside him. You confuse me, human. Daniel smiled. You're not the first to say that. In my world, she said slowly, if a male saves the young and offers protection, the mother offers herself. Fully. Completely. She binds to him. Daniel's heart skipped. You saying, you're supposed to marry me? In our way, yes, she said, though only if the male accepts. He looked into the fire, then at the sleeping children. I don't know your customs, he said softly. But I know this, back on Earth we don't abandon mothers. We don't leave kids alone in caves. She didn't answer, but she moved a little closer. Not touching. Not yet. Just near enough for warmth. As the night grew cold, Daniel whispered, "Something. You said I confuse you." She nodded. He looked at her. "You confuse me too." The next morning the children giggled as Daniel told a silly Earth story using puppets made from scraps. Valora watched quietly, something soft growing in her chest. It wasn't just survival now. It was something close to home, something like hope. But far away, deep in the clouds, a metal eye watched the cave and blinked. The child's question. Morning came softly. The storm had passed days ago, but inside the cave life still felt like it was on the edge. Daniel was fixing a broken heater core near the fire pit. Sparks flew. His fingers were dirty, but he was humming. Across from him, little Leary sat quietly, her wide eyes watching every move. "Why do you make fire from a broken machine?" she asked, curious. Daniel smiled. "Because it's warm, and it doesn't need trees. I'm not as good as your mom, though." "She says you are strange," Leary added honestly. Daniel laughed. "I've heard worse." Then she tilted her head and asked the question that froze him. "Are you going to be our new father?" The tool slipped from his hand. He looked at her. "What did you say?" Leary blinked innocently. "Mother says you brought warmth. You bring food. You protect us. That's what fathers do, right?" Before Daniel could answer, the younger child, Rune, ran up and hugged his leg. "You smell like trees and fire. That means you're safe." Daniel's heart felt like it skipped. Valora, who had just returned with water, stood still in the cave's shadow. She had heard it all. Later, when the children were asleep, Daniel sat near the fire again, staring at the flames. Valora joined, him slowly placing the water jug down beside her. "You heard her?" he asked quietly. "I did." He nodded, his voice low. "That's a big question for someone her age." "In my culture," Valora said, "children speak truth. They don't lie. They don't pretend. When they feel something, they say it." Daniel looked at her. "And what about you? Do you feel something?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she said, "They've never known another male, never known safety outside of my arms. You brought both. And in our way, that makes you more than just a guest." He nodded slowly. "In my world, becoming a father takes time, earning trust. Growing close, it's not a duty, it's a promise." Valora turned to face him. "Then, are you making that promise?" Daniel's chest tightened. He didn't know what to say. He cared. That much was clear. Every moment spent with the children, every smile, every look. It was growing roots inside his heart. But was he ready? Valora saw his hesitation and looked down. "In our belief," she said softly, "a male may choose. But once he accepts the role, he cannot break it. It is life-binding." Daniel whispered, "That sounds final." "It is," she replied, "but so is trust." The next day Daniel tried to act normal. He played with Rune, helped Leary draw shapes on a cave wall, laughed when Valora scolded him for eating raw fruit. But inside, something had changed. The question echoed again and again. "Are you going to be our new father?" That evening Daniel stepped outside the cave for fresh air. The sky was clear now. Stars blinked above like old friends. He looked up, thinking about his past. He never had a family, no wife, no kids. He always thought life as a mechanic would be simple. Fix, move on, fix again. Now he had people who looked at him like he mattered. He wasn't ready for that, or maybe he was tired of not being needed. Behind him, Valora stepped out quietly. "You left your warmth behind," she said, handing him a small blanket. "Thanks," he replied. They stood together side by side, watching the stars. "Do you miss your world?" she asked. "I never had one," he said. "Earth was cold in a different way, busy, loud. No one sees you. Here I feel seen." She looked at him. "We see you." He looked at her. "That's what scares me." She didn't smile, but she didn't look away either. Then she gently placed her hand over his, not forcing, just resting, and in that quiet, Daniel finally spoke. "I don't know what your rituals are. I don't know how to do this your way." "You don't have to," she whispered. "You're already doing it." Back inside, Leary stirred in her sleep, mumbling. "Papa," Valora whispered. "She dreams of you now." Daniel sat beside the fire, heart thudding. Maybe he wasn't just fixing broken machines anymore. Maybe he was fixing something inside himself too. The ambush in the mist. The fog came without warning, thick, heavy, and strange. Daniel stepped outside the cave just after sunrise, expecting clear skies, but instead the canyon was swallowed in pale mist. He couldn't see more than a few meters ahead. He didn't like it. Something felt wrong. He turned back into the cave. "Valora," he said quietly, "keep the children close today." She looked up from where she was braiding Leary's hair. "Why?" "Something's out there. Fog like this doesn't just happen on its own. Not here." Her eyes narrowed. She stood quickly and reached for the small scanner buried under old blankets. The screen blinked red. Movement, nearby. "They've found us," she whispered. Daniel's heart dropped. They moved fast. Valora pulled the children to the deeper part of the cave. Daniel grabbed his toolkit, mostly tools, a couple of old shock charges, and a flare. Not much, but it would have to do. He looked around the cave. No exits, only the front. "Stay quiet," he told them. "No lights, no noise." Valora nodded. She crouched beside her children, her body tense like a warrior ready to strike. Daniel took position at the mouth of the cave and waited. Minutes passed. Then he heard it. Soft metal clicks. Footsteps. Low voices speaking in a language he didn't recognize. Shadows moved in the fog. Bounty hunters. At least 3. Daniel stayed hidden behind a stone pillar, holding a shock charge in one hand and a wrench in the other. His breath was slow, focused. The first figure appeared, tall, wearing dark armor with red lights blinking from the mask. The hunter scanned the area with a tracking lens. Another one followed, smaller, with a long energy rifle. The third was hunched, dragging equipment behind them. They stopped at the cave entrance. Daniel tensed. The leader raised a hand and gave a signal. Weapons ready. They stepped inside. Daniel struck first. He hurled the shock charge at the ground. It exploded in a flash of white-blue light. The first hunter screamed, sparks flying from his armor. The second ducked, firing wildly. Daniel rolled to the side, avoiding the blast. The cave lit up with flashes of light and smoke. Valora screamed something in her language. Daniel didn't understand the words, but he understood the tone. Protect them. He leapt at the second hunter, swinging his wrench hard. It hit the weapon, knocking it aside. The hunter kicked him back, but Daniel didn't stop. He charged again. They fell to the ground, grappling. Daniel punched once, twice, then rolled off, grabbing the dropped rifle. The third hunter was trying to flee, calling for backup through a communicator. Daniel didn't think. He aimed and fired. The blast hit the wall beside the hunter, showering him with stone. He dropped the comm device and ran into the mist. The cave fell silent again. Smoke. Heavy breathing. Blood on the floor, not Daniel's. He looked up. Valora stood with a sharp stone in her hand, one of the hunters lying at her feet, motionless. She had fought too. Daniel limped to her side. "Are you all right?" She nodded. "You?" He winced. "Bruised, not broken." They looked at each other, wounded, shaking but alive. The children ran to them, clinging to their legs. Leary cried softly. Rune just stared at Daniel, wide-eyed. You fought for us, he whispered. Daniel crouched down even though his ribs hurt. He gently placed a hand on Rune's small shoulder. Always, he said. That night the fire was low. The cave smelled of metal and smoke. They had buried the dead hunter behind the rocks. The second one had vanished into the fog, but they knew more would come. I should leave, Daniel said suddenly. Valora froze. What? If I stay, they'll keep coming. They'll track me. I'll put you in more danger. She shook her head. No, you didn't bring danger, you brought life. Daniel looked at her. I don't know how to protect you forever. You already are, she said softly. The children huddled close, looking at him with something deep in their eyes. Not fear, not confusion. Trust. He wasn't just a stranger anymore. He wasn't just a visitor. He was theirs. And they were his. Valora stood, her voice strong now. Then it is time. Daniel looked up. Time for what? She reached into the shadows and brought out a glowing crystal. A bonding, not of ceremony, of truth, of choice. He didn't speak. She came closer. If you stay, you become more than protector, you become mate, father, family. The fire flickered. His heart beat louder than the wind outside. Daniel looked at her. Warrior, mother, survivor. Then at the children, silent, hopeful, holding on to him like he was their world. And he finally knew his answer. The bonding ritual. Night. In the canyon was colder than usual. The fog was gone, but something heavier had taken its place. Silence. Not the silence of peace. The silence before a decision. Daniel stood near the fire, staring into the flames. His body still ached from the ambush, his arms were scratched, his ribs sore. But that wasn't what kept him awake. Valora's words echoed in his mind. If you stay, you become more than protector. You become mate, father, family. He looked. Behind him, Leary and Rune were asleep, curled up together in a blanket. One of Leary's small hands still clutched the broken music player he had given her. Even in sleep, they leaned toward him. He was no longer just a visitor. He was part of their world now. Valora returned from the shadows, carrying something in her arms. It was wrapped in black silk, old, worn, but carefully kept. Daniel turned to her. What's that? She knelt beside the fire, unwrapping the bundle with great care. Inside was a small glass bowl, a silver chain, and a shard of glowing stone. This is the bond rite of my ancestors, she said quietly. Passed, from mother to daughter. Daniel stayed quiet, watching her hands move. In my world, she continued, bonding is not made with words, but with truth. She looked up at him. Will you show your truth? He swallowed. What does it mean? It means we share memory, we share pain, we share fear and joy. For us, bonding is not only love, it is knowing. She placed the glowing shard into the bowl. If you touch this with me, your mind will touch mine. No secrets, no hiding. You will see who I truly am, and I will see you. Daniel stared at the glowing stone. The idea of someone seeing his past, his failures, his loneliness, made his chest tighten. No one had ever seen all of him, not even himself. Valora's voice was soft. You can walk away now. I won't stop. You. But if you stay, we are no longer two. Daniel slowly sat beside her. He didn't speak. Instead, he reached out. His hand hovered above the bowl. Then he looked into her eyes. I'm afraid, he whispered. She nodded. So am I. Their fingers touched the shard together. The world vanished. In its place came memories. Not one, but many. Daniel gasped. He saw her life flash before him. her childhood beneath twin suns, her proud warrior mate, his death, the betrayal of her own clan. He felt her pain, her strength, her will to live, not for herself, but for the small lives that now called her mother. And then she saw him, a small boy fixing broken radios, a teen always alone at school, learning machines because people were too difficult, a grown man drifting from job to job, never staying long enough to be missed. And then her, the cave, the moment he gave away his warmth. When they opened their eyes, the fire was low, but their hands were still touching. Velora was trembling. Daniel wiped a tear from her cheek. "You saw everything," he said. She nodded. "So did you. And?" She leaned forward, resting her forehead against his. "You are not broken, Daniel. You were only waiting for someone who sees." His voice cracked. "And now?" She took the silver chain and placed it gently around his wrist. "You are one of us now." They didn't sleep that night, not from fear, but from a quiet peace that filled the cave like a warm blanket. For the first time in years, Velora rested without clutching a weapon. For the first time in his life, Daniel dreamed of home. And it was here, not on Earth, but in this cave, with her. At dawn, the children woke. Rune yawned and rubbed his eyes. Leary looked around and noticed something new. Daniel was holding Velora's hand. She smiled. "You're my real papa now, right?" Daniel bent down, scooping her into his arms. "I am," he said. Leary squealed with joy. Rune grabbed his leg, laughing. Velora stood behind them, watching silently, until Daniel looked back and said, "I'm not leaving again. Not ever." And she smiled. Not as a warrior, not as a widow, but as a woman who had finally found the one thing no war or betrayal could destroy a family. Husband, father, warrior. The sun rose over the canyon like fire on the stone. For the first time it felt like light had returned to their world. Daniel stepped out of the cave, his hand gently resting on the silver bonding chain wrapped around his wrist. It glowed faintly, warm with memory. Behind him, Velora prepared breakfast for the children. Leary giggled as Rune made shapes with stones near the fire. This was his life now. Not a job, not a mission, a family. And Daniel had finally accepted it, but peace never lasted long. A distant rumble echoed across the cliffs. Daniel turned his head. The ground trembled softly under his boots. He knew that sound. Engines, heavy ones. Velora appeared beside him, face pale. "They've come back," she said. Daniel looked up at the sky. A dark shadow grew larger, descending fast. A dropship. This one wasn't a scout, it was a warship. Within minutes, dust and metal swallowed the canyon. Armed figures stepped from the craft, tall, masked, and moving in formation. This wasn't a bounty crew. This was an execution squad. They had come to finish what the clan started. One of them raised a comm link. His voice boomed through speakers. "The traitor Velora and her cursed offspring are to be handed over immediately. Any who interfere will be destroyed." Velora pulled her children close. "They will not take my babies." Daniel stepped forward. "They won't. I'll stop them." Velora shook her head. "You can't face them alone." Daniel touched the bond chain. "I'm not alone. Not anymore." He rushed back into the cave and opened the secret compartment in his pack. One last tool. One he'd never used before. Reactive pulse suit, half armor, half power tool. Meant for dangerous repairs on collapsing stations. Not built for battle, but it would have to do. He slipped it on. The chest plate clicked into place, glowing dimly. Wires connected to his arms and legs. The suit hummed with energy. When he stepped out of the cave again, the hunters paused. The human now looked like a walking engine of thunder and flame. Daniel raised his voice. "These children are under my protection. Leave now, or face me." Laughter came from behind the masks, Protect them, one of the soldiers mocked. You are nothing but a tool fixer. Daniel smiled coldly. Then you've never seen what a human tool fixer can do. They fired first. A bolt of plasma shot toward him. But Daniel rolled to the side, sparks flying from the suit as it absorbed the blast. He fired back using the built-in arc launcher. An electric wave blasted 2 attackers off their feet. Another came at him with a blade. Daniel met him head-on, blocking with a metal forearm and slamming his fist into the mask. The mask cracked. The soldier fell. Daniel didn't stop. He fought like a man who had something worth dying for. No, someone worth living for. Back at the cave, Vailora watched, trembling. Her people had abandoned her. But this human? He stood against warriors 10 times stronger with nothing but scrap metal and a promise. Leary looked up at her. He's not just Papa. He's a warrior. Vailora whispered. He is more than that. He is ours. Minutes later, smoke covered the canyon floor. Bodies of armored soldiers lay motionless. The warship engines whined, beginning to rise in retreat. Inside the dust, Daniel stood alone, breathing hard. His suit was cracked, his face bleeding, but he was alive and victorious. He dropped to one knee. Vailora ran to him, falling beside him. You're hurt, she said, holding his face. I'm fine, he whispered. They're safe. That's all that matters. Leary and Rune reached them, wrapping their small arms around his back. You came back, Leary said. Daniel smiled. I never left. Later that night, they lit a fire not out of fear, but celebration. Vailora placed a hand on Daniel's chest. You have done what no male ever has. You fought for children not your own and made them yours. You fought for a mate who had nothing and gave her everything. Daniel looked at her, then at the children. I didn't just find you, he said. I found myself. The stars, above them, shimmered, quiet and bright. In the shadows of that forgotten canyon, a new kind of legend was born. Not of kings, not of warriors, but of a human mechanic, who became a husband, a father, and a protector of a family the galaxy tried to erase, and he would never let them be forgotten again.